Hey Internet, welcome back to Easy Riding. I'm Zach.
And I'm Emma.
We're gonna put some new shoes on Mav. Let's get to it. So we're set up here with a 1,500 pound floor jack for a motorcycle. A lot of the information that I am using in reference to how I'm approaching this comes from the r3owners.net forum, which I've mentioned before. I'll link them again below if you've got some interest in exploring that. There is a couple of mounting points for like a center stand or something under here that's not on this vehicle that I think some people on those forums actually produce some products you can use for this process too, so to potentially make it easier. But at those mounting points is where we're going to aim with one side of the jack. We've actually got it up a little higher than the other side, which counters some discrepancy in the height of the front of the bike to the back, and it takes a lot of the weight support off of being on the underside of that pan down there, which we don't necessarily want for it resting on just the bottom of that pan. So I'm going to tip it up. Emma's going to slide the jack into place, and then we'll pump it up, get this sucker off the ground. We have added a couple of straps to some structural members with some towels to protect paint and finish on both sides.
We also had to take off the seat and the side panels to find a good mounting point.
Yeah, part of my problem was having straps that were too long. Part of my problem was wanting to make sure that everywhere that I put straps wasn't going to screw with, other pieces that can't take that sort of pressure. So a little bit of finagling, but we got a good spot. Now time to pump it up a little more and make sure this all gets off the ground even. The front wheel is free from the ground, so if you're not holding on to that, when it gets off the ground, it might swing to one side, hard to the other. If you're, so just pay attention. We have the bike mostly up in the air. We're going to take the saddlebags off of the rear end and the rear tire out first, just for sort of weight distribution purposes. So saddlebag first, which is these two screws here, and then the whole thing just pops out of there. It's a really handy system, actually. I'm relatively certain the axle has to come out this direction, which means that we've got to pull the muffler off of this side. These are size 12. I'm not going to finish pulling this one all the way out because I want it to be supported as I undo the front end here. All right, difficult to make out, but on the front side of the muffler, right here, so the muffler comes in here and swings a 90 towards the middle of the bike. This is the exhaust connection, and it's on the front side. Don't have a great way to show you here, but that is where you disconnect the exhaust from the whole bike here, and I'm using the Allen out of the onboard kit. On the rear right side of the bike, we've got the bolt that's holding the axle in place. We saw the Allen head on the other side. I don't have an Allen that size here, so we're going to take this off. We're going to have to get a socket that will fit this so that we can retorque this when we put it back on, but we can get things off for the moment anyways. Get the axle started out the other side because it pushes through from the other side, so it needs to go that direction. I'm going to leave the nut on so that I can give it a little whack without bunging up the threads that are on the end of this axle, so protecting the interior of the exhaust tube. All right, so push that through a goodly amount. Pull this nut off. So the next step is I'm actually going to pull this caliper off. I wasn't sure if I was going to do that before, but I think I need to because this is a shaft-driven bike, and to disengage the gearing on the other side of this tire from that final drive there, I think it all needs to shift this way just a little bit. So I don't want to put weird pressures on the caliper and on the disc brake by shifting it with that in place. So that's going to come off. It'll help us look at the pads too and make sure that those are still in good shape. So number 14 right here, we'll pull this out. This and the axle are the 2 points that connect the caliper bracket to the swing arm here. So once we get this one out and we pull the axle through enough to get out of the way of that bracket, we can pull the caliper off.
Caliper bolt. One of my favorite tricks to do with motorcycle maintenance in the garage is we have sticky notes and yogurt cups that we keep track of bits and pieces as they come off the bike. I write down what it is on the sticky, put it in the cup with the appropriate thing, and then set it off to the side.
We're going to take a crowbar and provide a little support under the tire here, just so that we can make sure we're not dropping things out where we don't want to. So I am pulling on the axle on this side and holding on to the caliper on the other side. Okay, I think the caliper is free. Bring it around. Okay, we don't want to be too rough on those brake lines. Gently bring this over here. We can actually take a look here and see how our brake pads are doing. I think those might look a little thin to me, so we might be changing those out while we got all this part too. There's the axle. There. Good night. Something to pay attention to when you pull your tire out is there's a spacer that goes in here that might pop out when you get it broken free from all of that. So just don't lose your spacer.
Handy dandy yogurt cup.
When to change your tires. This one actually might have a little life left in it, but because this is mostly a straight line vehicle, we're actually getting quite the flat spot. You can see sort of from the side there at the crown of this tire. So it's a little early in the life of this one, but I'm going to replace it anyway. It's the summer and we're not riding right now, so this is a good time as any to get it done. If you need to, you can check the depth of your tread. You should check the manufacturer and the owner's manual for exact requirements, but you can stick a penny in there, and if you see the top of the Lincoln's head down, and if his head is uncovered, then it's time to replace the tire. That's rule of thumb anyway, but check your manuals for exact numbers on millimeters and whatnot. New day, new Zac and Emma. Turns out, didn't have a 19 millimeter socket that we need for that one there, or 19 millimeter hex rather. And they're sort of hard to come by apparently. So
In Arizona.
we got one now. So these are 6 millimeter. now a big ol' 19 millimeter.
Twist.
It wants to twist my way, so I'm blocking it with my leg. That's gonna be fun to retorque. All right. Just like that. All right. Huh? Oh. Yeah, there's one in there. There's actually, what are you? Oh, that's the ABS. So the ABS looks like it's held on with the axle. So when it comes time for you to pull yours, keep track of that. If yours has the ABS, which I think started in 2013, 12, somewhere around there. This is a 2014, so keep that in mind if there are differences between your setup and ours. Maybe just some sidewards pinching action or something. The front calipers look in a lot better shape than the rears. Oh, no, it's Zach being an idiot. We definitely have to pull the calipers off because the caliper bodies are in the way of the wheel itself. So we do have to pull those off. Which looks like 2 bolts right here. Probably 14 has been standard on some of these parts so far. Yep. Does that fit there? Okay. Yep, so these are 14. You don't want to be the one to break it?
Nope. I'll go make a sticky note.
Oh, it is weirdly.
Hey, that spacer fell out.
Don't lose track of those.
Do we need to keep the right side, left side bolts separate?
No, they're the same.
So these are front caliper bolts?
I wonder if this is galled up in there a little. It's so rough.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. Front caliper bolts. And then front spacer.
The bolt looks all right. There's a lot more meat on these brake pads than there was on the rear.
Yeah, I want to see. Oh yeah, those look way thicker.
Maybe we'll see if they have any of those pads when we're down there at the tire shop.
Okay.
You want to give us another pump?
Hang on, I gotta find another yogurt cup, but yeah. You ready?
Yep. There it is. We're free.
Perfect.
So there's a spacer on either side. There's a little one that goes on the right side of the bike, and then a bigger one that goes on the left side of the bike. You can see here the tread is getting a little low. This tire doesn't have nearly the squared off action that the rear tire did, but the tread is getting just a little thin. Again, I think this one could probably have a little more life in it, but we're doing it, so we're gonna do both of them. Next steps. So we have some tire spoons that you deflate everything, break the bead, get the tire spoons in there, and pull that bead up past the wheel. However, that job absolutely sucks, so we're gonna take these down to a tire shop and have them replaced. We've got the rubber over here we can show you that we're gonna put on it. These are the tires we got. These are the Bridgestone Excedra Max. They're one of the many hotly debated tires for this bike in the various forums. The Cobra Chrome was what I wanted to go with, however they were really hard to come by, and the one pair that I found was incredibly expensive, so we're not doing that, we're doing these. To the tire shop to pay somebody to do a job I don't want to do. Editing Zac and Emma here. This video was getting a little long, so if you want to see the reinstallation, you're going to have to wait for the next one. Thanks for monkeying around.